Hello and welcome to the Story Club. I'm Faith Moore, and this is Lesson 3 of How to Write Fiction. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you about world building. The Story Club is a place for writers, readers, and story enthusiasts to engage with the stories they love. If you're watching this video on YouTube, you can find a link to my website, faithkmoore.com, in the description to learn more. This course consists of 10 videos designed to teach you how to plan and craft your story. All 10 videos are completely free to watch. If you'd like to practice the skills I explain in the videos, you can visit faithkmoore.com to order writing prompts. A writing prompt is an assignment that helps you practice a particular writing skill. Once you've filled out the prompt, you can send it to me, and I give you personalized feedback to help you improve. Visit faithkmoore.com and click on Course Offerings, then How to Write Fiction for more info. Or just check the description of this video. If you're already watching this from my website, there's more info right here on this page. If you haven't checked out Lessons 1 and 2 of this course, you may want to pause this video and do that first. We'll be referring to them. Don't worry, I'll still be here when you come back. Or if you just can't bear to leave me, that's okay too. You'll figure it out. On to the lesson. World building refers to the creation of the world your characters will inhabit, the place where your story plays out. When we talk about world building, we're often talking about building a world from scratch, a fantastical or science fiction place that doesn't exist in real life. That's why you have to build it. But in a sense, all stories need some amount of world building, even if they take place in a real place in the present day. You'll need to research the place you're writing about. Think about what it'll look like at the time of year you want it to be. Maybe you'll add a few things of your own. A fictional restaurant where your main character works, or a manhole he falls into, whatever. For the purposes of this video, though, we're going to talk about world building in the sense of creating a world from scratch, or mostly from scratch. World building is a huge and wide-ranging topic. There are all sorts of worlds you might build, and the type of world determines the kind of things you'll need to do to build it. I could teach an entire course on world building, and maybe I will one day. But for now, we're just going to talk generally about some basic strategies and tips for world building that should help you no matter what kind of world you're trying to build. Your what if question from Lesson 1 and the conflict that went with it, as well as the characters you developed in Lesson 2, should already have you well on your way to knowing what kind of world you're building. Are you on another planet? Are you in a medieval type kingdom? Are you on a spaceship traveling at the speed of light? Are you in a world much like our own, but with magic? You get the idea. That should be fairly clear from the elements you've developed so far. Before we go any further, a word of caution. It's very easy to get so wrapped up in the world building process that you forget to actually write your story. You may feel that you have to explain every tiny aspect of your world in excruciating detail before you can begin writing. That's a mistake. Yes, the world you create should feel believable and real, but you don't have to actually write an entire history of your world and its peoples in order to be able to start your story. Unless you're J.R.R. Tolkien. But let's move on. Once you've determined, based on your story idea, what kind of place you're dealing with, a futuristic world, for example, or medieval type kingdom, or another planet, or whatever, you want to ask yourself what your world has to have in order for your story to make sense. For example, if your what if question was, what if there was a place where lost children go and never grow up, then you know you're creating a world that is somehow invisible to adults, where magic exists, that is filled with things that children love to do. From there, you want to ask yourself, what are the rules of this place? If your story involves magic, decide how the magic works. Be specific and simple. Who has magic? How do they do it? What can magic do? What are its limitations? If the story takes place in the future on Earth, decide what technology they have or don't have now, and how that affects people's day-to-day lives. If the story takes place on another planet or in a mythological place, think about what being in that place would mean for the people who live there. Is there air to breathe? Are there dangerous monsters that only come out at night? Is the whole place underwater? That sort of thing. Let me just pause briefly to say thank you so much for being here. I hope these lessons are helpful. If you'd like to connect further, I'm excited to share that I am now on Locals. If you'd like to join a community of writers and readers and get exclusive content from me, I hope you'll consider becoming a Story Club VIP. Please visit my website, faithkmoore.com, and click on Community for more info. I hope you'll join us. Okay, back to the lesson. Now you want to think about how society is structured in your world. Who are the different groups of people and how do they interact? Where does your main character fit into this society? For example, if your world is a medieval kingdom, there's probably a monarch, a gentry class, a servant class, etc. There may be different kingdoms with different social structures and customs. If your story takes place on a futuristic spaceship, there's probably going to be the commander and other officials who run the ship and the civilians traveling on it, and maybe subgroups within those categories. How do these social groups interact? And what elevates one group over the other? For example, do people who have magic lord it over those who don't? Or is magic forbidden and those who can wield it are ostracized? Once you have a sense of the kind of place you're dealing with, the rules for how it operates, and the people who inhabit it, you'll want to take some time to come up with what it actually looks like. Sketch out a map. Search for pictures of places that look like the main location your characters will inhabit. If you're artistically inclined, draw some key locations. If you're not, write down short descriptions of what they look like. The thing you want to do when it comes to world building is to keep coming back to the story you want to tell. Ask yourself what kind of place this story would play out in and what rules the story necessitates. The world should flow organically, or at least somewhat organically, from there. And remember, don't get obsessed. This is a task, just like any other writing task. Create a general sense of the world's key features and then move on. The rest will fill in as you go. Once you have your what-if question, your conflict, your characters, and the world they'll inhabit, you're ready to start outlining. That's the next lesson. See you there. Thanks for watching How to Write Fiction. Remember, if you'd like to receive writing prompts and personal feedback tied to each lesson, visit faithkmore.com and click on Course Offerings, then How to Write Fiction for more info. Or just check the description of this video if you're watching on YouTube. Also on my website, you can click on Editing Services to learn how to hire me to edit your work. Or you can click on Community to find me on Locals. Happy writing!